Hello, Snacks. Welcome back. It's been a while, sorry. I've only just recently moved interstate once again. But let's not waste time. Let's get straight into all these updates. Starting with what I think is the most interesting one. Beginning 8 days ago, in True Off My Chest, my negligence cost my partner her life, and I'm about to lose everything. I, 35 male, have been married to Lisa, 28 female, for 3 years, together for 7. A year ago, I fell deeply in love with Amy, 24 female, and had been planning to end my marriage for her. I know it's terrible, and not what my wife deserves, but we were the real thing. 2 weeks ago, she had an allergic reaction when we were getting food after work, but she used her EpiPen and seemed mostly okay afterwards. She usually gets checked at the hospital after a reaction, but I asked if I could take her home and she could get her friend to drive her there because my wife was expecting me back. All I know is that she had a secondary reaction that evening and died. I didn't even find out about it until the following Monday, through a work email. It has been eating me up ever since, and I will never forgive myself for not sacrificing an hour of my time to possibly save her. I ended up sending some childish message to Amy when I didn't hear from her over the weekend because I thought she was angry I didn't take her to the hospital. I am thankful she never saw them, and ashamed that I assumed the worst. Our relationship was great, and the highs far outweighed the lows, but I have always hated being ignored, and I lose my cool when it happens. It is not a regular occurrence, and I would have more than made it up to her. Yesterday at work, HR and legal were in the CEO's office all day, and my manager ended up canceling our project meeting because he was with them all afternoon, so I was on edge. But an affair isn't exactly a corporate crisis, and I thought something would have already happened if anyone knew. But I am now 99% certain it was about me. See, a few hours ago, I received a message from Amy's phone which said, "This is Amy's brother, Tom. I want you to know it was me." I tried to call, but it went straight to voicemail, and none of my messages have been delivered. I tried to call my manager more times than I should have, and he sent a message saying, "Please don't contact me until Monday morning. I can't discuss anything with you right now." So it looks like my universe is going to collapse. I am going to be fired, and my wife will definitely find out why. All I can do is hope that Amy's brother only showed them the messages from that weekend, and they were bad enough. I have no family except my wife and daughter and nowhere to go. All of my friends are either people I've met through my wife or my colleagues. On Monday, everything I've spent over a decade working towards disappears. I can't stop it. I can't talk to anyone about it. So here I am. I know cheaters are the devil, so I'm not expecting sympathy, but this is making my chest hurt, and I need to get it out there. Most upvoted response to this: Tom has real Elena Tyrell energy. True king stuff. And I mean, yeah, you can't blame him. And oh boy, is it so fun to read these comments who have really put this scum under a microscope, pointing out the beautiful things like, "So you hate being ignored, but are totally cool with ditching your wife and child. Are you really this self-centered? You probably have been ignoring your wife and child for ages over a lady you couldn't stand to not respond due to her medical emergency. She had a reaction in front of you, and you got mad, instead of maybe possibly thinking she was dealing with anaphylaxis." So despite this clear, well done roasting of this steak, they actually did come back later today. I guess, again, as they admit, they've got nothing better to do and no one else to reach out to, so how have things come by over the last week? I have been consistently harassed for an update since posting, so please, take it. Gloat because you're such wonderful people in comparison, then stop following me around Reddit. I am suffering in the wake of my infidelity and unprofessional behavior, as I knew I would. I understand that is an inappropriate outcome, and I am taking full accountability. I was suspended from work on Monday, and I'll probably be fired sooner than I thought. I'd hoped to be able to save money as HR built their case, but it looks like Amy's brother basically performed the entire investigation for them. After an excruciating 3-hour run through of everything they had, I spoke to the founder, and he recommended the solicitor I am now using. The issue is that the company has to come down hard to protect themselves, because even though Amy's family doesn't have much chance of a claim, any suggestion of a cover-up could cause damage regardless. The founder still thinks my offer to pay them back will keep it out of court, and some more information has come to light, so it's not certain I won't be prosecuted, but I'm quietly hopeful I can't afford to keep the solicitor if this goes much further, especially with a divorce on the horizon. Things are also not good with my wife. I'm still committed to making this as easy as possible for her, but I had to draw a line when it came to my daughter. When I got home from being unceremoniously escorted out of my office, she already had a bag packed for me. She wouldn't let me wait at the house until my daughter was back. She wouldn't let me check I had everything I needed. She wouldn't let me take the car, and she didn't care that I had nowhere to go. I spent 2 nights in a hotel, then went back when she refused to let me see my little girl. She tried to stop me, but we own the house jointly, and it was my only option. My wife has family she could stay with, but she won't leave our daughter here, and she's absolutely not taking her. So we're at a stalemate right now. I'm keeping out of her way as best as I can, which I appreciate is the least I can do. Now, the Amy situation is quite difficult to talk about, and a lot hasn't sunk in yet. It turns out that she didn't love me as much as I loved her, if at all. Her brother sent me images of her talking to her friends about me, and it's hard to believe they came from the person I loved, but they are real. Sorry to those who were heavily invested in me being a predatory abuser, but she and her friends had a good laugh about her manipulating me for money and a promotion. The role came with a big pay rise, and it looks like her plan was to treat it as free cash, then go work with one of her friends when it fell through. She knew I'd come under scrutiny whenever she messed up and assumed I'd keep stepping in to save her. And she was right. Obviously, I am completely humiliated. I was planning to give up everything to build a life with her, and she was treating me like a joke the whole time. My feelings are complicated, so please don't feel entitled to any expansion on this. But I no longer feel guilt over her death. Reddit acted like I kept her hostage while she begged for help. What actually happened was that I asked if she could ask her friend to take her to the hospital because I had to go home. And she said that was fine because she needed to get some clothes back from her anyway. And I dropped her off as normal. Ultimately, she was an adult who had a better understanding of her medical needs than I did. I still don't know what happened between us saying goodbye and her death, but whatever it was, it had nothing to do with me. I'm sorry for her family's loss, but I bear no responsibility for her passing. After Amy's message to her friends were passed around, a few people quietly reached out with words of support. Now, I assumed everyone would write me off like Reddit did, as an abuser and predator, but now it's clear that Amy was using me. They see me as a fool who had then lost it all. It's beyond humiliating, but I have learned I'd rather be pitied than despised, and it improves my legal position with work. They're small mercies, but I'll take what I can get. I remain filled with regret, and I will have learned many lessons by the time I get through this. I may have been deceived, but I am a grown man who made my choices, and I take full responsibility for them. I'm sorry, what, bro? What? Hang on, no? What? What do you mean you take full responsibility? You just said in the paragraph before you bear no responsibility for her passing.
Now, alert, controversial opinion approaching.
I think to a degree. His whole excuse here about not really understanding her medical needs and trusting her, downplaying it, and being okay with his request. Yeah, he's kind of right to make that decision about it. So I'm not surprised after some thought they've actually realized, hey, I wasn't the only adult in this situation. She would know far more about it than me. I don't know, gang. I just feel like the last thing a man should do is try to mansplain to a woman the severity of her illness that she personally experiences versus him who's experiencing it for the first time. But I do want to clarify, again, I think that's the only saving grace he gets, because he's still a cheating scumlord who is so hypocritical in his insecurities while just putting it onto others, the whole abandonment or being ignored and stuff. I mean, God. And also this emotional 180 of she was the love of my life to now, oh yeah, it's her own fault. Everything was her own actions and choices. I mean, bro, we get it. You actually did genuinely love her, and now you're just hurt that it turns out she was just using you in the same way you were just using her deep down. You might have thought it was love, but you were just chasing a high and new exciting toy to play with. And like with that, what I was saying originally, that he is right to remove his guilt in some way, but it is still in a very selfish fashion. Like the only guilt he's removing here is the guilt about acting inconvenienced by a medical emergency that cost her life because it was revealed, oh, she was just using him for his money anyway. But what do you think? Hope that his ex-wife takes his butt to court and goes for full custody? I feel like this man's situation is the equivalent of, you've been charged with 4 counts of murder. But one of those people was a corrupt politician. So congrats on coming across as a good guy there, but you still killed 3 people. And now to read the newest update to a story from last year. You may remember this one, so feel free to skip ahead to the newest update if you're already mentally aware. For those unfamiliar, it began in June last year. I spent the day with my sister's best friend, and now she's telling my parents that I'm a homewrecker. So this all started yesterday when I, 22 female, had a date planned with a guy. He ended up not showing, and so naturally, I texted the group chat about it. My sister is in this particular group chat. I'm guessing my sister, Sarah, 26 female, told her best friend, Jay, 27 male, about it because a few minutes later, Jay texted me to ask if I'm okay. I told him, yes, just a little disappointed since I was pretty excited to try that particular restaurant. He said that he would pick me up at noon the next day so we could go eat there. I told him it wasn't necessary, but he insisted, so I agreed, thinking nothing of it. Well, today he took me out as promised, and while we were eating, Sarah FaceTimed Jay. When he didn't answer, she called again and again. He answered the 4th call and asked her what was going on. She said that she was just checking up on us and told me to call her later. Well, later ended up being almost 8. Jay and I ended up spending the rest of the day together, hunting down some collectible dolls we both like and trying different dessert spots along the way. On the way back to my apartment, Jay asked me to change the music on his phone. When I opened it, I saw that my sister had called him about 30 times throughout the day and texted him across multiple different apps. Jay put his phone on Do Not Disturb after lunch, so it made sense why he didn't see those notifications. Once he dropped me off, I called my sister and asked her if everything was all right. She said yes and asked if I had forgotten to call her back sooner. I told her that I was out with Jay, so I didn't get the chance and figured it could wait since she didn't call me. She hung up, and a few minutes later, I got a call from my mom. She sounded angry and told me that I should be ashamed of myself. I said, sure, but why today? See, according to my mom, Sarah called her in tears, saying that she had caught Jay and I sleeping together in their apartment. I was so confused. I told my mom that I did not, in fact, sleep with Jay and that I didn't even know they lived together. I asked her to give me a minute and I called Jay, but he didn't answer, so now I am here laying on my floor wondering what the hell is going on and putting off another conversation with my mom. So if it isn't obvious, clearly Sarah here, OP's sister, thinks they're in a relationship with her best friend, or is at least trying to make it come across as such. There were some possible theories at the time. Maybe this was the only way she was going to be able to live with her best friend, by making her parents think they were a couple so they don't find it gross or disgusting or shame her for it, etc. But here's the other notable thing that was revealed in the comments. Jay and Sarah don't even live together. OP would say, I'm not really sure how to make this clearer, which is bad because I'm a teacher. I knew my sister had a roommate that wasn't Jay. That's why when my mom said their apartment, I told her that I didn't know they lived together. As for him having my number, he's my friend too. Of course he has my number. So 3 days later, OP came back with an update where OP gets confronted by her parents for her home-wrecking behavior. And this is where it becomes extremely clear who the golden child is. First things first, going to clarify what we already talked about, that Jay and Sarah don't actually live together, but Sarah does have a roommate, it's just not Jay. Also, in regards to how Jay even found out about this date failure of OP's, turns out he was hanging out with a few of his friends, including my sister, and she told him about it in a joking way. So technically, Sarah didn't even suggest that he go hang out with OP. And finally clarifying that she didn't purposely hang out with Jay knowing her sister liked him, that if anything, if she knew, she would have avoided Jay at all costs because she knows that her sister is such a jealous person. Anyway, last night was a doozy. Jay called me back. He said he was going to stay at a friend's because he would feel safer with company. I asked him if there had ever been anything romantic between him and my sister. He said the only thing was that he kissed her at a New Year's party at midnight because she was feeling left out. Obviously, I can't confirm if that really is the only thing. He also said that he had never even talked about moving in with Sarah, so he doesn't know why she would say they were living together. After I spoke with Jay, I called my mom again. She still sounded mad, but this time I could hear my sister crying in the background and my dad yelling to get our butts over there. Our being Jay and I, presumably. Well, as I told my mother earlier, I didn't have Jay's butt, and I don't like to drive at night, so I told them I would go the next morning. That also gave me time to gather any evidence I could to prove my innocence. Jay even sent me a copy of his lease to prove that he and Sarah do not live together. I went to my parents alone because Jay has a job. Now, as soon as I arrived, my parents started yelling at me. Just the usual stuff, that I was disrespectful, but they never expected this from me. How dare you do this to your own sister? You know she already has a hard time. Why make her life harder? My dad even called me a whore. That was fun. I kind of just sat there and did the math on how much faster I would be able to finish my grad program and flee the country, or at least the state. I wasn't very tuned in until my mom told me that if Sarah lost her job because of me, that I would need to financially support her until she found another one. That's when I snapped and told them that if they thought I was going to do that, then they were as delusional as my sister. Missing one day of work because of a tantrum over something that didn't even happen was not going to get her fired. That's when my dad said that Sarah had been missing work to make sure that Jay wasn't leaving work early to go see me. I found out my sister also told them that Jay was missing a lot of work, so he wasn't taking enough home for their bills, so they had been sending her rent money for months. I told them it wasn't true, and I showed them the lease Jay sent, where it clearly says the day the lease started and when it ends. It also had his address, which is not the same as Sarah's. My mom brought Sarah out of her room, where she had apparently been this entire time, and told her to explain herself. Sarah said that he probably got that other apartment so that he could be closer to me when he went on supposed business trips. Now, first of all, Jay is a software developer. I don't know what business trips he would go on. Second, nice way to find out that my sister doesn't even know where I live because Jay's apartment is almost an hour away from mine. I showed my parents that on Google Maps and they finally started to believe me. But well, Sarah started crying and calling me a liar. My dad told me that even if what I said was true, I shouldn't have been so hard on Sarah and that as her sister, I should be helping her when she's having a rough time like this. I told him I wasn't a therapist, but if she ever decided to get help, I would pitch in. So I left after that. There was nothing else I needed to say, and there was no point in waiting on an apology. My dad looked uncomfortable, and my mom was too busy consoling my sister to notice me leaving. And so that's things basically where they ended. Not exactly a fun update of anything, but just a real cementing that maybe OP should just go no contact with this family, only leaving as much extra information that apparently OP had told Jay everything after the whole thing, and that he was going to be trying to get a restraining order. So that's when a year later, OP returns. Now, what kind of fun fallout has Sarah been giving everyone so far? Jay got a permanent restraining order against my sister. It took some months and a lot more harassment, but he does have that now. As for why my sister was lying to get money from our parents, I couldn't tell you. I don't know where all the money was going, but I'm pretty sure that she lied because she didn't want them to be disappointed in her. A lot has happened, but to sum up, my sister was arrested for violating the restraining order and breaking into my home. My parents were furious with me after I didn't help bail her out. They blame me for her getting arrested and getting fired from the 3 jobs she's had since my last post. Since then, I have not had any contact with my mom or my sister. My dad called to wish me a happy new year, but that's about it. Also, I finished my master's, and after countless job applications and rejections, I finally found a job in my field. It's far away from where I currently live, which is a major plus. I'm sad to be leaving my friends, but I'm so excited to start this new chapter in my life. I think overall, I am in a much better place mentally than I was when I first came on to write my post. I intended to use Reddit as a tool for journaling, but I think that didn't really work for me. So I've found different methods to express and reflect on my feelings and situations. I think I'll still use my account, but probably just for trivial things that will hopefully not get very much attention. And now over to an updated story of possibly the most trashiest partner you've heard of. I just have been cheated on in a way I would have never imagined. I just need to write this down somewhere. Not looking for help or validation. I really just need to get this off my chest. I, 35 male, have been together with my fiancée, 29 female, let's call her Anna, a fake name, for about 4 years. And last Christmas, I popped the question, and she happily accepted. Life with her was a bliss so far, and especially after we got engaged. I've had a lot of cheating in my past relationships. Yes, I am in therapy because of that, and it has gotten better. Nevertheless, Anna meeting up with guy friends is an issue for me. Anna knows this and has known this from the very beginning of our relationship, and she has been accommodating this. She has no problem making sure she only meets male friends when one of her female friends is around, or in a public setting or so that I don't need to worry. Actually, she has been a lot more understanding than anyone could ever imagine. I really thought I hit the jackpot. I also promised to work on my issues in therapy because she never did anything to not deserve my trust, so it is not fair to put her through this, but she said she was happy to support me like this, and it has gotten a lot better. I have held up that promise and went to therapy and all. Since Anna is straight, I of course never had any issues with her meeting women friends, which leads to her friend Natalie, 28 non-binary. Natalie identifies as a non-binary woman, whatever that means. What I did not know until yesterday is that Natalie is an MTF trans person, and they, that's the pronoun Natalie prefers, are biologically still male. Very much male, it seems. From what I understand now, they have not yet started any kind of transition. Not like they are required to in any way. Well, to cut a long story short, yesterday Anna was out with Natalie for some girls' time together as usual, and when she got home at night, she was pretty much wasted. Not a problem because she is off work today. I helped her undress and climb into bed, and only after that I saw a notification popping up on her cell. It was from Natalie, titled Our Video. I am ashamed to say that curiosity got the best of me, and I unlocked her phone. We have an open phone policy, but I haven't checked her phone in 2 years, and I saw, well, an X-rated video of Natalie doing Anna, and the way they talked, and especially about me, was equally as devastating as the mere fact that Anna was cheating on me. Something inside me broke that instant. I was actually starting to feel good about my life and was hoping to overcome my distrust regarding Anna's male friends, and now even a perceivedly female friend. I am trying to be respectful to Natalie's transgender identity, even though I do not think they deserve respect in any way. Well, they turned out to be, well, a risk? A danger? I don't know what to call it. Anna is still all out, sleeping, so I haven't talked to her. I'm thinking about just grabbing some stuff and leaving. As I said, I don't want any advice. I frankly don't know if I'm gonna survive this with any kind of self-respect intact. And P.S. I absolutely know that this sounds fake. Hell, I wish it was. I really do. Please feel free to not believe me. I wouldn't believe it myself had I not seen that video. Now, shortly after, there is a first update, most likely the night after. First, thanks for all of your comments. I try to read all of them and reply. Second, we have had a first talk. I woke her up gently, and when she realized I was there, I asked her to open up Natalie's message and explain it to me. She was irritated and grabbed her phone, and when she realized what the video was, she started the usual, "It's not what it seems," and "I can explain it" stuff. I suddenly felt like throttling her, so I screamed something and left the room. She came after me after a couple of seconds, and she stammered about as garbled as I am thinking right now. She said that she was sorry and that I am not supposed to find out. No, really? I am not supposed to find out about cheating? I also told her how hurtful the things were that she said in that video, and she said that she was drunk and that Natalie likes to do some power dynamic stuff. And then she bit her tongue, realizing what she just admitted. So, looks like this has been going on for some time. When I asked why, she just shrugged. I told her to pack her things, and she packed a duffel bag of stuff and then left to go to a friend of hers. So I'm a mess. I'll try to meet up with a friend today and stop spiraling. In a second update, not much of an update, I messaged Anna and requested to meet her tomorrow, and she replied very civil, and we'll meet in the afternoon in a cafe, so in the public. I'll try to get a friend on standby in the vicinity. Yes, the classic case of, "Oh, you weren't supposed to find out." Oh, look how she makes it your fault. Okay, so that post was a week back, this update just a few days ago. Okay, so I met up with my now ex-fiancée Anna yesterday. We chose a cafe we both know, so a well-known environment, but public. Overall, I held up better than I would have expected. I neither yelled nor did I cry. It went something like this. We sat down and ordered some coffee. Then we looked at each other for a while And finally, I asked her if she had anything to say. She asked, well, what do you want to know? And I said, everything. Here's what I got. This has been going on with Natalie since before our engagement for about 10 months now. She told me that while I am absolutely fine for her intimate needs, she's always had a thing for, endowed male organs. It supposedly just happened when they both were drunk and walking home through a park. Natalie turned to the bushes to pee, and, well, Anna could see it and liked what she saw. And when Natalie noticed this, they got, excited, and then Anna liked even more what she saw. Apparently it started with oral that night, and in later nights it became full physical in all the ways you could think of. She's not in love with Natalie, so her rationalizing was, or is, that it was not so much cheating since there is no emotional component. However, she is willing to cut all contact with Natalie. She regularly deleted all chats with Natalie to not leave a trace. She knows this is exactly my trauma, but figured if I never found out, it would not hurt me. She regrets that I got to hear the things she said on the video, but she didn't mean any of it. It's just stuff that Natalie likes to hear, which turned Natalie on. So she says it. Natalie is apparently a lot more dominant than I am, which is why Anna agreed to do certain practices with Natalie that she has refused to do with me. So they aren't more dominant than you. Like, if she's refused to do those things with you, then clearly you want to do those dominant things too. The stupid excusable logic. She doesn't really know why she did it. She says the intimacy was really good, but it wasn't like she was missing anything with me. It just happened, she was drunk, etc. She says she really loves me and is really sorry for hurting me, especially for me having to find out like this, blah, blah, blah. I told her about how I've been hurting, how I've been feeling the last days and all, and I could see some sort of remorse and regret in her face. And in the end, she actually started crying and begging me for forgiveness. Instead of being emotional though, I was stone cold at that moment. I just looked at her and said something along the lines of, I think it'd be better if you gave me the ring back now. I didn't care much for the ring itself, but meant it as a sign for breaking off the engagement. Some people might be happy to hear that she took it literally and gave me back the engagement ring. I then also expressed that I would like her to move out because I cannot live together with her anymore. She begged me to reconsider, or at least to wait and give us some time to think about things and for me to go to my therapist first. And she also suggested couples counseling. I said we could speak again in a week, but if we can't agree to try to mend things by then, if I can't get myself to do it, then we'd have to split up, to which she half-heartedly agreed. I held up pretty well until she was gone and I went to my friend who waited nearby. Then I pretty much instantly burst out into tears. It's just like all the other times. Purely egotistic cheating, purposely got nothing to do with me, yet it still feels like I'm just a pathetic loser who is no worth of being loyal to. And before anyone asks, no, I do not have the slightest intention to get back together with Anna. I mean, besides all other reasons, I think I could never look my therapist in the eyes if I made such a stupid decision. I know, it's over. E nota bene. I have asked a friend of mine to rephrase some of what I wrote in order to make it a bit more objective. I must admit that I am still not in a good headspace. That is why the above reads rather non-emotional, which makes it easier to read, but I am actually very emotional about all of it. It's just, it feels like all the anxiety I have has basically been validated. Rationally, I know that's not true, but also, all of this continues to sound like something from a soap opera. As with my original post, feel free to not believe me. I absolutely know that this sounds fake. I really wish it was fake. I wouldn't believe it myself were I not the one in this situation. And I understand everyone who says it must be fake. So yeah, a sad ending, but also a very thankful one to know that OP isn't willing to grovel any further than he doesn't deserve to. I mean, the excuses here, as this comment points out, oh, she was drunk? What, for 10 months? The first time, sure. Still not an excuse. Drunk actions are sober thoughts, especially when you're acting on them. But yeah, you don't accidentally start an ongoing affair. But of course, no, she has a heart. She does care because she was trying not to tell you. She was trying to keep it secret so you wouldn't get hurt. See, that means she cares about you. She's not trying to avoid the repercussions of having to deal with someone upset by her own behavior and actions. Guys too, of course. This is the exact sort of stupid narcissistic behavior in men who cheat on their partners, like the first post. He didn't want to tell his wife about him trying to run away with another woman because he cared, of course. He cared about about her feelings. Anyway, friends, I'd end it there before I ramble any further about my disgust for these people. And until next time, you be good and I love your face. Sorry I keep dropping out a bit here and there. I was living in Wollongong, an entirely different city, for like the last month, and now I'm finally back up interstate in Brisbane. The sad news is I no longer am living with Mr. Tibbles, but I am in a lovely new place now, and I'm very excited for the rest of my stuff to finally come up here so I can actually set up my home office. So until that gets all sorted, love your face and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.